I lost 40 pounds before my brother's wedding, and my family says I did it to humiliate his bride. A little over a year before Marcus's wedding, my doctor called me in and told me I was pre-diabetic. I was 29. She laid out what that track looked like if I didn't make changes, and I left that appointment genuinely scared. So I changed things. Started cooking real food instead of ordering every night. Cut out the constant desk snacking. Started walking after work. Nothing dramatic, just consistent. The weight came off slowly at first, then faster. By the time the wedding rolled around, I'd lost 40 pounds over 14 months. My doctor was pleased. I felt better than I had in years. That was the whole story as far as I was concerned. Here's the part I maybe should have thought harder about. Marcus's fiancée Tanya had known me for almost 3 years at that point, and for those 3 years I was heavier. Not dramatically, but heavier. And Tanya had this thing she did about it. Nothing outright, always one layer of deniability. She'd send me plus-size shopping links saying she thought of me. She'd steer us to restaurants with a big smile and say they have huge portions, you'll love it. At my last birthday she gave me a gift, specifically a diet cookbook. No card or anything, just handed it over like it was thoughtful. My mom said she meant well. Marcus said she was just like that. I never said anything because I didn't want to create problems for him. I saw Tanya for the first time after losing the weight at the engagement party, about 8 months before the wedding. She looked at me for a long second, then smiled and said, "Oh, you look so different." Just that pause right in the middle. Not a compliment, but not one either. I said thank you and moved on. Things started falling apart about 3 weeks before the wedding. My mom called and asked if I'd found a dress. I described it deep burgundy, midi-length fitted. She went quiet, then said Tanya had mentioned she'd love it if the family wore more muted tones, so nobody competed with the wedding party. Fine. I said I'd find something else. Then my mom added, and maybe something a little more modest. You know how you look now. I asked her what that meant. She said I'd lost a lot of weight and I looked great, but Tanya was feeling sensitive about it. I said, she's sensitive about my body. My mom said I knew what she meant, and to not make this difficult, I found a different dress. Covered, muted. I figured that was it. It wasn't. 4 days before the wedding, Marcus called. He said Tanya had been stressed, and one of the things doing it was his exact words, the attention you've been getting. I said I hadn't been around her enough to get any attention. He went through the list, the engagement party, the bridal shower, the rehearsal dinner. At every event, someone had commented on my weight loss in front of Tanya, and it kept happening and she couldn't take it anymore. I told him I wasn't asking anyone to say anything about my body. He said I knew how it looked. I asked him how it looked. He said Tanya had put on some weight during the engagement, which the whole family had noticed, and that me losing 40 pounds right before the wedding came across like a deliberate thing. I told him I started 14 months ago because my doctor said I was pre-diabetic, that I had the blood work if he wanted to look at it. He went quiet. Then he said maybe I should reach out to Tanya. Just apologize for the timing. Nothing major. I said, I'm not apologizing for getting healthy, Marcus. He said I was making his wedding about me. I hung up. My aunt called that night. My dad sent a text about being the bigger person. Both of them said basically the same thing. Weddings are emotional, and I should just smooth it over. Neither one addressed what I'd actually done, because there was nothing to address. I lost weight because my doctor told me I had to. That was it. The wedding was that Saturday. I wore the muted dress. I stood where I was told in every photo. Smiled when I was supposed to. Tanya didn't look at me once during the ceremony. Marcus was polite in that very particular way where you can tell someone is making a deliberate effort, which honestly felt worse. My mom kept tracking me from across the room every time a guest said something to me, like she was waiting for me to strike a match. At the reception, Tanya's sister Maya found me at my table, grabbed both my arms and said right out loud, "Oh my God, you look incredible. What have you been doing?" She said it across the table, right in front of Tanya. Tanya stood up and walked away from the table without a word. My mom appeared at my elbow 2 seconds later with that look on her face. I looked at her and said, I got blood work done. That's what I've been doing. She hasn't mentioned Tanya's feelings to me since,